Well, let's move on now. Now we're going to be going on to looking at our competitor analysis. So welcome back to the Business Plan Development Program workshops. And I'm so glad to have you here. Can't say how much we really enjoy having you a part of our group. Again, let me thank my sponsors very quickly. Let's make sure we thank the Workforce Solutions Rural Capital Area and the Texas Workforce Commission for being so generous in providing this workshop for you so that there is no fee to you for being a part of this plan. So this is where we're at now. We're now going to start looking at competitor analysis. So we've already gone and done our problem solution fit. We've gone through, we've tested the hypotheses of our value proposition and our target markets. And we've seen that we've tested those hypotheses and we validated. Now let's go on to the next step. And the next step there is doing a competitor analysis. So why do we want to do competitor analysis? Well, because we want to see what the best practices are. We want to see what other people have been doing in this field. What have they been doing right? What have they not been doing right? Where are there opportunities that they have not fulfilled? So we want to do a competitor analysis because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to see what's going on out there and really understand the marketplace. And this is another way of doing that. So we want to decide, we want to look to see who are they? And when you're thinking about a competitor, you're thinking about money. They have this money. They can spend it on you to solve this particular problem or solution. Or where else can they spend that same money to somebody else? Those are your competitors. And also, if we don't have a hair burning problem that we're trying to solve, where else can they take that money and maybe buy something totally different? So if we're only trying to look at create that something is a need, it's not a want, then where else can they spend those money? So it's very important at this stage when you're trying to do the competitor analysis that you're trying to understand exactly where they can spend their money. Where else can they spend their money? Because we want to make sure that when they have this money to spend on this particular problem, that they think of us first. So what are the objectives that we're trying to do here? We're trying to understand what's going on in our marketplace, in the competitor space. What is it they're doing right? What are they doing wrong? What are opportunities that are out there? So even though when we first came up with this hair-burning idea that, oh, wow, we thought of this great idea with our friends and family about something that we wanted to start a business about, are there other things that we haven't thought of? And so we want to look to see what our competitors are doing. What are they doing right? We want to learn from them to make sure we are matching that is right. What are they doing wrong? What can we do differently than they are that we cannot do that wrong anymore? We want to make sure that we don't do that. So we're really trying to scan the external environment in this module. Very important to scan your external environment and what's going on outside of your specific customer. But who else is meeting this customer to understand what is going on? So what we're going to do is we're going to develop something called a competitor matrix. We're going to come up with a competitor matrix. We're going to identify where major competitors are. What problems are they not addressing? How are you different from them? What are the best practices? And what can you learn from their mistakes? And how will you compete with them? So here's what we're trying to come up with. So here's an example of a competitor matrix. They look to see, as you're going across the top of this diagram, they're looking for what are important characteristics that a customer is looking at when they're making the decision. If I'm making a decision to spend money to solve this problem, what characteristics am I looking for into that problem? That's what you need to find out. And hopefully in doing those interviews and people are looking to solve that problem, they told you, these are the things I'm looking for when I'm trying to look for a solution to this problem. And that's how we want to evaluate these customers. There's a lot of different ways of coming up with this. So it could be from our customer discovery questions. Other places that you can go, excuse me, is that you can look at Yelp reviews. What are people saying? What are consistent things people are saying? Not just the one thing or twice, but consistently are they saying that are good about this particular competitor? What are they consistently saying that are not good about this competitor? We are from what the customers are posting on these social media sites, they're telling us what they are looking for when they decide to spend their money on this particular problem. So we want to read that, we want to listen to that, and then evaluate all of our competitors on those different types of metrics. And so we list what our competitors are and things of that sort. And there is a worksheet for you in the handout section. So what are some of the questions that we want to consider? And there are different questions we could ask at this point, and not all of these questions are going to apply to your particular product or service. These are just things to help you start thinking about what it is that you want to consider. And so these are available to you and the handouts. And if looking at this particular PowerPoint slide, they are there so that you can have these questions to look at, because I don't want to read through them. You can do it. But these are different ways to help you trigger what you want to put as characteristics that are going along the top of your exercise that you have there. And here's some additional questions that you might want to consider when you're trying to come up with that. And then lastly, here are some references that I would recommend for you. These references that you can get at any public library. Texas State University is a public library. University of Texas is a public library because these libraries are sponsored with your tax dollars. You can go into these facilities and use their databases. And I encourage you to look for some of these different databases that are out there, because they'll give you some information about competitor analysis, how people are spending their money for a particular problem. For instance, Reference USA, it'll tell you a little bit about businesses, about how many employees they have, what their revenue is. It'll give you some of the demographics of the business. MarketLine Advantage will give you a little bit of profile about how companies are spending their money in terms of advertising and promotion. Privco is for private databases. It's a great resource to look to find out more information about these different companies that you can find. Also, if you look at trade journals, or like here in the Austin area, we have the Austin Business Journal. Do a search of their articles that they have. Are there any competitors that are listed in there? Because sometimes they have in-depth articles that they can talk about things that you might not have thought about. So go back, print out this module so you have all those different questions that you can reference, so that you can go out and start developing your competitor analysis for your business, either your startup or your current business. So if you have any questions, please let me know. And if not, please go out there and start working on your competitor analysis.